One, two, three. Hey, welcome to the show. Happy to say you're on this one right now. Should we
Okay.
split to the other one?
It's up to you.
There you go. Let's wave to that one. All right. I'm very happy to welcome Chris. Chris is family, a lot of family here. So I'll guard him from going too far. So if it's edited, you know why.
Yeah.
We can't publish everything.
Yeah, not everything.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So me and Chris and I had been talking probably for an hour and a half. But we have a great relationship, so it's not like there's no spoiler alert or anything.
No awkwardness.
No awkwardness at all. So Chris has got a great story, and it's really uplifting. Chris kind of falls in line with what I talk about, a positive day and keeping his shit together, even maybe when it's not so positive.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris. Where were you born and raised? Are you from South Jersey?
South Jersey originally. Voorhees I was born.
Right.
Well, come from a great family. I can't complain about the family at all. Good upbringing, big family, a lot of love. Was an only child. I'm an only child, but grew up with two cousins I was very close with, like brothers almost. And then, yeah, like I said, I can't complain about my childhood at all. I never could. So, and then from there, I mean, you deal with bullies and teasing and stuff like that. So I started early with drinking and doing drugs, really.
What do you mean by early? Like middle school early or freshman?
I would say probably around sixth, seventh grade. That's when I first started smoking weed and cigarettes.
Right.
And then the drinking came along, eighth grade summer, going into freshman year, around there.
Right.
And, I came from the generation of house parties, but I did a lot of things, just to fit in. And that's what we did. That was the cool
So
crowd.
why did you have to fit in, Chris? What was different about yourself, or what did you feel?
I just remember being bullied as a kid, and then the dynamic was when I got bigger than everyone, the bullying stopped, but then people started avoiding me because I was bigger than everybody. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of easier to fit in with a crowd and kind of remain like incognito.
Right.
But I was always in the cool crowd, I guess you can call it that, in high school.
Right.
Which, looking back now, it probably hindered me a little bit.
Right.
Where I'm at now, but that's neither here nor there. But
All right. So it's funny you say that because I was rebellious as a kid in high school, but I never got it. I guess I just didn't hang with a drinking crowd, or I didn't like it. I had to try it many a times.
Right.
But I was always into smoking. You know what I mean? I just was always into smoking, and I guess I was lucky because I do drink now, but I never drank. Like, it wasn't my drug of choice. I never...
See, that's the other thing with drinking. I never really liked to do it. It was never my go-to. It was never my number one.
So you did it to fit in?
I did it because everybody else liked to do it.
Right.
Really. I mean, I could have a couple beers and be hammered. And that was never the case when we drank. It was drink until it was gone, and then we're going to find more. Yeah. It was never let's have a couple beers and, hang out by the fire.
Sure, right.
No,
Have a campfire.
it was never that.
And drop a 12-pack.
Yeah, it was never that. It was let's drink until we pass out.
Exactly. So you did that all through high school?
All through high school. High school's a blur. And I played football. So being on the football team back, I mean, even now, I guess, but in high school, it has its perks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, my senior year, I didn't get dressed for gym one day because the football coach was the gym teacher. I'm smoking cigarettes out of gym class, getting an A.
Right.
Just walking around in clothes. You know what I mean?
Pissing people off.
Yeah. So, and then I started cutting a lot of classes my senior year.
But you graduated, yeah.
I graduated barely.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was all a party, dude. I would tell everyone I stopped drinking when I turned 21.
Yeah, you said that, and we were just talking about that. You said you haven't drank in like 20 years.
Yeah, right? Close to it.
How old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'll be 39 at the end of this year.
Man, you make me feel old. 39.
Yeah.
Damn. So that's cool. You haven't drank in 20 years. You know what I mean? That's funny. You always said that you quit when you could. Yeah, when you got the credit. You know,
right.
When you were legal.
So my first experience with pills was my junior year of high school. I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus playing football.
Mm-hmm.
And I got total reconstructive surgery. And like I said, I was a big dude, so I wasn't able to be on crutches. I was in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? So that's when I first got introduced to the painkillers. And the funny part was I was allergic to it in the beginning.
What would it do to you?
It would, like, I would get, like, hives, stuff like that.
Mess you all up like that?
Yeah, like hives, breaking
out. So
did
they give you other stuff or just tell you you're going
to... I don't remember much about it other than when I was better with the knee, I wasn't taking them. And then...
But you took them as prescribed?
As prescribed,
like,
yeah. Yeah, well, my mom was controlling the...
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I was taking it as prescribed. And then... Taking perks just kind of got added into the mix with everything else we were doing because they were just like around.
You mean partying?
Yeah.
Taking perks.
Yeah.
See, I never got into that either.
Yeah.
So I'm so lucky in a way that I missed some boats.
That led to one thing, and then the doctor, who's still my family doctor, was prescribing me 150 perk 30s a month near the end. Started me on perk 5s. Moved up from there. And I was going through probably 150 30s in 2 weeks, maybe, if I spaced it out right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then he cut me off.
Like, yeah, he was going to lose his license.
Yeah, he tried to put me on the OxyContin 80 milligrams, the time release ones. And it got to the point to where I couldn't even find a pharmacy to fill it. I had to drive 45 minutes up to Vineland to get the prescription filled. I'm paying with cash.
Why is that? It's almost like buying from a dealer.
The DEA cracked down on the pharmacies.
Right.
They said all the excuses I would get was, we have the set amount we have for our regular customers. We can't get any more after that, so we can't take new customers.
Wow.
Basically, yeah. So that's how they fought it. They started cracking down on the pharmacies with how they would distribute them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Because you hear all kinds of stories just like that of people getting huge
cut
strips
off. And then the doctors just cut them off.
And that's why they're $30 and $40 a piece now.
Yeah,
the street value of them things are absolutely
nuts.
Crazy.
I thought I was paying a lot when I was paying $15-$20 a pill back when they first became, like, I guess, mainstream, you want to say. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then, or a bag of heroin for $10. What are you gonna do? I always said I would never do it, and then the first bag, it was like, this is cheaper, same feeling. Sign me up.
That is scary.
Yeah,
right?
man.
I mean, because it's the same scene out there, right?
Hey.
I mean, people can't get perks, OxyContin.
And today it's even worse because there wasn't fentanyl around like that when I was. You know what I mean? There wasn't. That should have killed you.
You just got beat. Yeah. You got beat on your dope.
Like I told you, the guy I was getting it from was a decent guy. Like, he would tell me if it was stronger or wasn't as strong. Don't do as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't count on that shit.
You ain't. That's a
far. And
needle in a haystack.
Right.
Needle in a haystack. Like, you ain't gonna find that.
No.
So I got really lucky in that aspect.
So, all right, hit me a time frame, Chris. You graduate high school, you just start effing around with the pills a little bit because of an injury. When does it become recreational?
It becomes recreational when we're buying them on the street, really.
How old were you? Out of high school?
Yeah, we were out of high school by that point.
So
senior year, middle to the end of senior year is when we first started, like, taking them like that. And then afterwards, it was on from there, off to the races, I guess you want to say.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, everyone did them. It wasn't just me. It was like my whole crew. We all did them.
Right.
You know what I mean, it was just like...
What were the races like? Off to the races.
Off to the races.
So what would a typical week or a typical weekend be like when you're...
Well, it depends on how much money you could get from your parents, or if you had a job. Some of us had jobs, but a lot of us were still getting money from our parents to get them, and if you could find them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for what price, and you went off your night on how much money you had for that night. This is money for this is money for this. You know what I mean? Near the end, all my money went to heroin. There was no more weed, this, that. You know what I mean? I wasn't smoking weed at the end of that.
Right.
It was a waste.
Right. You could use that money for better things.
Yeah, it was a waste at that point.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. I got to close this window. It's driving me crazy. Sorry about that, family. It's really nice out, and then I had a window open.
Yeah, it is nice out.
So, Chris, I want to kind of go with the war story, right? We do episode 2, and then we come out of it, and
yeah.
All right. Out of your core group, how many are still with us?
The core group, most of them are still around. Now, I haven't talked to them in a while because a lot of them got married and have kids, and I didn't do any of that.
Right.
I still talk to my one buddy here and there, but we're all older now, so like I said.
So y'all made it out, basically.
Yeah, a lot of us made it out.
That's cool, because I talk to people, and man, they talk about their boys, and like 2 and 3 are gone. You know, you got like 5 guys in your hand, and 2 or 3 are gone at an early age. Quick. Yeah, quick. All right, so how do you go from being functional pill user to buying it in Camden in heroin form? Like, is that an easy leap to make? Is it just money and, like you said, the same type of high? And
for me personally, having the bottle of pills in my pocket was a euphoria on its own.
Right. But just for you, not for power. You didn't use them to manipulate people, get what you want.
No, just for my own...
Right. Stability.
Safety.
Right.
Peace. I got the pills in my pocket. I'm good.
Right.
I know I'm set for at least a good period of time. That level of stress is gone. That was me with the pills in my pocket. Or when you get the... So... with my dealer, like if I spent more, he would give me more when it came to the heroin. So if I spent $200 with him, I'm getting 25 to 27 bags. Usually
worth $10 a piece.
Right. Now, he would, give me a ride here, do this, I'll throw you.
Sure.
Little things like that. But just getting that before you even get to doing the drug in itself
is its own crazy high.
Is a euphoric feeling in itself.
You
know what I mean? And if you're an addict, you know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the relief of getting...
Knowing.
I got it.
Knowing you know what I mean?
Yeah. That for me, anyway. I don't want to speak for anybody else. But
no, that's
me,
all we're asking for.
I mean?
We're asking for your friggin' story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But, yeah, I liked everything about doing drugs, man. I liked everything about it.
Right.
Until the end, because the end, it was like a job near the end.
So how do you realize how many years are we talking? I'm going to load you up with like 3 or 4 questions. How many years? And then...
How many years clean?
No.
Or how many years was I using?
How many years, using.
Right.
And then I want you to tell me when it started getting really bad. How long was that?
Okay, so I'll go off before when I got clean. So I got clean in the beginning of 2016 is when I first went to rehab.
Mm-hmm.
So the time period before that,
yes,
we were living in... Near the end, we were living on Kearsley Road.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first moved into the apartment,
right.
My first year with Samuels was in 2014, my job.
Right.
That first year was terrible. So that 2 year span near the end, that was when it was at its worst. To where
So you're talking about terrible. You're talking about a job. You're talking about trying to keep a stash, right? And then on top of that, what becomes miserably painful? So after the euphoria of having 10, 20, 30 pills in your pocket, right? Whatever you get, that old euphoria.
right.
What changed?
So when you get on the opposite side of that and you're almost out, the
Dang.
the draining feeling of that is when the brain starts going, all right, I gotta go do this, I gotta call her, you start playing it out in your head, the scheming
Right.
and the manipulating you gotta do to get people to help you. In my case,
Funny.
I didn't steal from people I didn't know. I stole from the people I live with.
Right. The easiest access.
You know what I mean? I know I'm not going to get in trouble. They're not going to kick me out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's, near the end, that's what I did. And my mom struggled with it too because she was enabling me for a while, but she didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, we don't know what else to do
Right.
for our
Like
kids.
you don't know what to do. And she had to go to meetings for that too.
Well, good for her.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, for that time period, I was at ShopRite for 7 years. 2007 to 2014, and I graduated high school in 2005. So from 2007 to 2014, I was using that whole time bad because
Right.
I was getting the prescriptions for the 30s filled at ShopRite at my store. So I was that whole time I was using.
Right.
But like I said, near the end is when it was the heroin came in. I didn't start doing the heroin until probably like the last year and a half to 2 years I was using.
Why? Is it all financial?
Correct.
All right.
And it was easier to get. I told you, like trying to fill a prescription around that
You
time
told me you had
period.
to go to Vineland.
Yeah, good
and
luck.
shit.
Good luck.
Yeah, like 35
You
miles.
see, someone's got bags. It was easier.
Yeah.
That was my whole thing. It was cheaper and easier to get.
And that hasn't changed, people.
No.
You know what I mean? Like
Nope.
if we're setting up our youth to fail by giving them pain pills in high school, you know what I mean?
Right.
And giving them a taste of heroin is
Right.
basically what you're doing. Because it's sad. I used to drive around Kensington for work. And I would go that way on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go a little out of my way
Yeah.
to go through K&A and stuff.
It's sad.
It is.
It's
It's
a
an
sad
open air
situation.
drug market.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Kensington and Philadelphia
Yeah.
is just this. It's underneath the elevated train. They call it the L, and it's just this open air drug market. You want to feel good about yourself. Pull up a YouTube video about it. There's
Yeah.
people that walk the streets of Kensington trying to help these people. But to know that we've created a society that we have this open air drug market because of most of these fuckers,
It's money.
most
It's
of
money.
them, right, are
all
coming
money.
off of the medical model.
And they're all in bed together.
Yep, and
You
they're
know what I mean?
coming off of this medical model, this pill based.
I'll scratch your back, you
Yeah.
scratch my back, we'll scratch their back. You know what I mean?
That's crazy. That's crazy,
And
Chris.
even my doctor told me when he had to cut me off, it was because he was getting heat. So, like I said, a lot of these doctors and pharmacies caught heat from the government because it became an epidemic.
Yep.
But it only became an epidemic when it hit suburbia.
Exactly.
And all the middle class families started going through it.
Right.
Like,
All them white kids got addicted to friggin' pills and
Right.
doing heroin.
correct.
And they're like,
That's
what's
when it
going
became
on?
an epidemic.
Right.
And that's what I mean. They used to push these pills. If
Exactly.
you remember early 2000s, they used to push these pills like they would change your life.
They
for
were
the
the
better.
save all. They
Yeah.
really were. It's funny you
Yep.
say that. I don't really remember, but now that you look back and people have shown me videos and like promotional, they weren't really commercials.
How they
But
push
there
meds
was
today.
promotional.
It's the same,
So, I
same
mean,
thing, different drugs.
Look on
today.
TV. Like,
Yeah.
it's all
All money.
it's all money, and
It's
they're
all
all in bed together.
All of them.
Chris, how did you know it had to end?
So it was Thanksgiving of 2015. We were at the apartment. My grandma was there. They were cooking Thanksgiving dinner, and I remember what I was watching. I was watching a 30 for 30 on the Boz, on Brian
Bosworth.
Still one of my favorite episodes to this
Right.
day. So I'm watching that, and I had 18 bags of heroin on me. So I lined it all up. I said, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to sleep. If I wake up, I'm going to go to rehab. I woke up. I went to my mom and said, I got to go. Because it's either this or I'm just going to do more to try to go to sleep.
It's messed up that you remember the number. It's messed up.
I remember
that
the smell, dude. I remember the smell of the food they were cooking for Thanksgiving. I remember like it was yesterday. I remember shutting the door, locking the door. They were out there.
Let's go the day before. Like, this had to be building up.
Yeah, because I was tired. I was tired. Like I said, near the a great quote. That's not my quote. I used to say to people first coming in when I got clean, drinking and doing drugs is fun until you want to stop and you can't. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's where it was for me. There was no more getting high. There was no more like, oh.
You were surviving.
It was, I don't want to be sick today.
Right.
You know what I mean? Once you get to the point of there's no high, it's just you preventing yourself from being sick.
Physically sick.
Physically sick. Like,
what the fuck does that feel like? Like dope sick.
I was in rehab for 21 days. The first week, 5 to 6 days, I would say, I was in bed. Now, I was getting Subutex, which is a form of Suboxone. Same deal, different name.
Different brain.
But they were regulating it to me. You're in a rehab. So they would and I was still, had the restless legs. My stomach was terrible. I had the sweats. I didn't get out of bed for the first 5 or 6 days I was there. I remember getting there because my mom, my Aunt Carol, and I think my grandma and my grandma drove me there. And I had bags in my pocket in the ride the whole way there. Because I had done some before I left.
Right.
I said, if I'm going,
get
something to start the day.
I'm going jacked, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I get there and I threw the bags on the receptionist desk when I walked in. She just looked at them. I said, I don't know what to do with these. Get rid of them.
Well, get rid of them, right? I don't want to shove them in there.
So, so the withdrawal was bad, which is what I was afraid of. That's what kept me out there. That's what keeps me clean now. I don't want to go through that withdrawal again. That was terrible. I don't wish that upon my worst enemy.
Right.
Terrible.
I never dealt with it.
Yeah, like the physical withdrawal of it alone. And like I said, I was doing the 30s, I was doing the heroin, and I was smoking crack near the end. Now, crack's a little harder to get physically addicted to.
Right.
You know what I mean? Same thing with Coke. It's real hard to get physically addicted to Coke. You know what I mean? From what I was told from different people and how I am.
Right.
But the heroin withdrawal was bad. But they said it's the same thing with the Subutex that these people take now.
Right. So the medical model, like if you come off of that, you get sick too? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because the Subutex was never made for people to stay on, or the Suboxone.
It was like acute problems.
When you gotta wean yourself off of it. That's why, like, they give it to you in a rehab setting. It's good because they control what they give you. You give an addict a script of Suboxone, they're never going to get clean.
I'm taking two.
They'll be taking Suboxone 10 years later.
No, but I don't just mean that. Like, if you give me a bottle
or they're
of
going to
pills,
sell them.
Right. If you give me a bottle of pills
and
you say take one a day,
right,
I'm probably taking two. Yeah, I mean, I have that mentality. I'm probably going to try two. Because if one works okay,
two's better.
Two's better. And
I said my philosophy with drugs, for anyone that started taking drugs, I would say take half, see how you feel, then take the other half if you want. Right. Always take half.
If you want. All right, so I want to thank Chris for his war story. And we're going to take a break. And we're coming back because this man's a success. You heard the teenage years, the 20, you heard the terror. Now you're going to hear about some grace and some joy. But it doesn't come without a ton of work. He was talking about work. There's still work. It's just more rewarding and doesn't mean getting on 676 and 42.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Doesn't mean reacting how you.
All right, listen, we aren't professionals. Call and get yourself some help, 988-911 if you're in a crisis. And we love you.
Absolutely.
So hit the like, the subscribe, all that fun stuff.
This is good.
This is good. This is good. Oh, one thing, to see if he listens all the way to the end. Pump it up, pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. He knows who that's for.